All right, welcome back to the Journey Life podcast. I'm Les Herron. Today I'm with my sister Sue.
Hi, Sister
We're,
Sue.
we're going to explore several big do nots when it comes to parenting and communicating with adult children. We could have done like a to-do list and have made it positive, but sometimes coming from like the do not side really helps us open our eyes and our understanding about how we're communicating with our adult children. And it's interesting after like thinking about this, sometimes we communicate with our adult children kind of in a childish way. And so I thought that
Yeah,
was interesting.
yeah.
So Sue, what would you like to say at the beginning here before we get started?
Well, we happen to have an adult child who got married, had a baby, but then got divorced and moved back home. And it took quite a bit of work for her and I to sort out. She is this kid's parent, but I also had
Right.
small children in the home at the time, and I'm their parent. So she's the sister. It was really confusing and a little bit difficult at first and frustrating for both of us. But I was
I
very
bet.
thankful that she's also my solidly direct kid who doesn't beat around the bush. And so we did manage to work it out.
Gotcha.
But it's hard because that relationship keeps changing. You know, your
Right.
kid becomes an adult, then they get married, then they have kids. And so we're all learning through these steps in life. And if you haven't had a good example modeled for you or witnessed other people doing it well, it can be really complicated and seem a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, and that like what we take our parenting from one season into the next season. So
Yeah.
if we were relating to our mother as if we were still 15, that would be really unhealthy, but it also would be bad for our mother.
Yes.
So we go into these different seasons. That's a really good point. Yeah. I like that. And these do not. So we're going to go over some do nots, and when it comes to communicating with your adult children, but these do nots are not absolute. Don't ever do this. Okay. It's
Yeah.
like probably rarely do this and make sure you're not doing this regularly. But this first one is do not be the middleman. And so there probably are some times where you need to get in the middle of your children or do something, but this not being the middleman is this idea of don't communicate to one child and hope they communicate to the other child, or don't take communication from your adult child and then give it to another child, okay? I mean, that could be
Yeah.
don't ask one child to invite another child to someplace else. Don't remind a child to do something or wish another child a happy birthday to make them like each other or be good to each other.
Right.
Um, and
But I
just
think
just
that starts really young where
yeah,
when
that's a
I would
good point.
when I would tell one of my kids, "Hey, go tell so and so what to do."
Yeah,
And then I'm listening to them telling them wrong. I was like, "Okay, that is not their job. My job is to
right.
tell my kids what to do, not another child." And that's not 100% because sometimes it's very convenient to have somebody go upstairs and tell their siblings it's time for dinner. But we tried to do that as little as possible, having our kid do what we should be doing.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought about it that way. And probably it means not going as your kids get old. Maybe when they're 5, you tell them, "Hey, be nice to your sister." Your sister doesn't like that. But then when they're 10 and 12 and 15, to teach that child to go to that other child and talk to them. Even if you're like brokering it or managing it or refereeing it, you're still teaching that child to have a voice, to use their voice, to speak up and to communicate during a
Yeah.
difficult time.
And it starts young. Like you have kids like, well, we have 10 kids and they're in 3 tribes. So the
Right,
first in each one, there's a kid who's a little more domineering. They make decisions faster. They want everybody to
right.
do what they're doing. And so they're directing traffic. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have to teach the other kids, you don't have to do what they said just because they had the idea first or
Right,
they want
right.
to do it. So you have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah, that's good. In this, don't be a middleman. We're going to include don't ask your adult child to talk to their spouse about anything. You talk to them about it. So that example is if you have a struggle with your daughter or son-in-law, don't talk to your daughter or son and ask them to talk to them. You build that relationship and you learn how to communicate and you learn how to love them. So how does that sound to you?
Yeah, I still it didn't occur to me that I would ever tell my kids, "Hey, your spouse is an issue," except in the one case where my daughter got divorced. But I think I should ask her if she has a different opinion that um because I wasn't there, I don't really know what's going on except what she tells me that I don't know it. And when you wrote that down, it's like I would never, I don't think I've ever told my kid that their spouse needs to do or not do something.
I think it happens probably a lot. I was thinking about that, and we have never, I would never ask my wife to ask her parents anything. We lived two doors down from them for 22 years, and then they both lived with us and hospiced in our home. So, we were close together. But what
Yeah.
I thought about that, and what I have done, I would say, like when we needed to go on vacation, she worked for her parents, and I would say, you need to let them know, ask off for this 10 days, and she wouldn't. Then I would say, if you don't, then I will. And
Yeah.
sometimes I did talk to them about that, but it's very specific, intentional. It wasn't, hey, go tell your parents I'm mad at them, or go tell their parents they didn't do this or they should do this. I spoke directly because our child was down there a lot, right? So I
Yeah.
spoke directly to my in laws about how I wanted my child raised or any differences there. And it was great. It was great. It was
No,
very
I
clear
I
from the
had
very
to,
beginning.
yeah, I had to talk to our dad about not being nice to Michael. He was really critical and put him down in front of the kids and stuff. And so I did at one day tell him we're not going to see him anymore if he keeps treating Michael this way. Michael never
Right,
asked me to do that. I
right.
said, "Hey, when my parents come over, why do you just always go to the room?" And he's like, "They're not nice to me." And I was like, what do you mean?" And it was things from my childhood. My dad's super sarcastic, but not always nice in his sarcasm. And as I'm listening that evening, it was like, oh my gosh, I guess this isn't nice, but it's the way I grew up. Mom has her food issues, and um, it's like we're not going to do that at
But
my
Michael
house.
didn't ask you to go talk to him and say, "Hey,
No,
tell your dad to
no,
be nice to me." Yeah, I
no.
think that's super important. The scripture, Matthew 18:15, talks about this, and it's talking about when someone sins against someone. But I think when someone has puts an offense against someone, it says, "If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. If he hears you,
Yeah,
you have gained your brother." And there's other steps that you then take after that. It talks about that, but I think that this whole idea of like the Bible really supports direct, clear communication, even when it's difficult. We're like,
yes,
because we
yeah,
say, I can't talk to my daughter in law or my son in law because of blank. That's not true. What we're saying is, I don't want to talk to them because I don't want to have an uncomfortable conversation. So that scripture there, we used to use it in school actually, and I wouldn't let people come and talk to me as a school administrator, and I would say go and talk to that teacher, even with
yeah,
students. Well, not with a fourth grader, but with a high school student. Go talk to that teacher. You can't resolve it, then you come back and talk to me, or with a teacher with a student, because sometimes the teachers hadn't clearly spoken to another teacher or to a student. That's really
yeah.
important. It's really goes
Yeah, it's
to
not
you go
just a
to them.
family. Yeah, it's
What's
not
that?
just it's not just a family dynamic. It's these are life skills that
Well,
apply
yeah, and
outside.
yeah, and I think that like in the middleman, it's like even just in life, it's bad to be the middleman at work. It's well, everybody comes and tells me their stuff. Well, that's because you're being the garbage dump. People are
Yes.
dumping on
Yeah.
you, and so they're like, you just want to be a nice person or a Christian, but you're not being very kind. You're not being very Christ-like because you're not helping them or leading them. And you're a lot of people leave work just feeling like horrible because they become the middleman between junk that they shouldn't really be. Um, there's actually another scripture here. Oh, I want to go to, I think this second one, the don't ask your child to keep a secret from your spouse or another child, is actually with that don't be a middleman one. But when we are trying to direct one kid to tell another adult kid something, we're being manipulative.
Yeah.
And that manipulation comes from we want control or we don't want to be in discomfort. We want our way, but we don't want to act like we want our way. And that right there, not knowing what we want, really hurts a lot of people around us.
Yeah, and it harms your kids' relationship with each other. And
Absolutely, yeah,
that would be it's hard enough being siblings that
yeah,
I don't want to I'm sure that, our daughter who lives down the street does know more things about us. Like if we're at the doctor's or whatever, and she might hold on to some information until we have a result before sharing it with the
sure,
other
yeah,
siblings, because you don't want anybody to worry if it's really not a worry.
sure,
But it's not like we wouldn't ask her, I don't think. These are all things I'm reading all these things. Like, I don't think that we do this. I talked to Michael about it, and we both thought we don't think we do this, but I should really ask my older kids. I should send them the list and ask them. But
that's funny.
it's but when you separate people by keeping secrets, it it becomes really uncomfortable to be around those people together.
Right, right. Well, I got a couple scriptures here I really like. It's not just the whole secret thing, but it's the being the I think it's also being the middle. Don't be a
Yeah.
middleman, don't keep a secret is Proverbs 16:28. A dishonest man spreads strife and a whisperer separates close friends. And we usually keep it on the dishonest man, right? But the whisperer, the person who doesn't want other people to hear stuff, but the other people in the same room or they know it's going to be said, it just like say things clearly. It's really important. And we have right now a lot of like excuses or victimhood. I can't say that because they won't take it well. Well, then
Right.
don't say it at all to
Right.
anybody ever if it's about them.
Yeah.
And they, just to keep that really clear. But to tell your kid, I mean, there are exceptions, right? Like you have a birthday party, you have a surprise, you have something like that
Yeah.
that you don't, you do keep those. Those aren't the secrets we're talking about. This is the thing. All secrets eventually come out and they do more damage than if you would have just been clear a month ago or 6 months ago or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Secrets leak out.
Well, we have a family chat. It has a lot of people. It has our I got to do the math. 7 adult children and 3 spouses and Michael and I. And I thought I'd said something funny. It offended one of my kids. They said something really mean to me in the group chat. It's a super sweet kid. He felt really bad. Messages a sibling. Did that hurt mom's feelings? The sibling was like, yes.
Yeah.
But they messaged me right away saying, I'd like to call you tonight. I mean, they
Yeah.
go to work. And so we talked it out that day or the next day. I don't remember. But things are going to happen. You're going to say things that aren't nice, that don't hit the right way. Somebody's having a bad day. They take it wrong. And you don't need to go running around to all your siblings talking about it.
Yeah, and
That
that adult child texting another one and asking them the question is not asking them to be a middleman.
No, they're just saying,
It's just saying,
they
I.
were asking, really, do I need to do something about
That's
this?
right. That's
It's like,
right.
yes.
That's actually really a kind thing to do.
Yeah,
So,
because I'm not super sensitive. So if it
no.
was for me to be offended, he was like, and that the one sibling didn't call me and say, "Are you offended?" I need to tell them you're offended or not.
Right,
They
right,
didn't.
right. Yeah.
They just made an assumption based on knowing me very well.
Yeah. Well, here's the
But
thing that not only
imperfect.
do all secrets come out and all secrets do more damage over time than they would have if you'd been clear at the beginning. And if you keep a secret, even if the other person doesn't know you're keeping a secret, the sense that there's a disconnect there comes because of
Yep.
secrecy. And because secrecy is, I think, in its essence, a lie. Maybe it's, on the spectrum of lies, but it's manipulation. It's
Yeah.
like and we've got to be really careful about that. And I think that comes into this third one. Do not expect your child to be where you want them to be.
Yes.
And many parents are really bad at that, really bad at that, that you have to do what I want you to do. We have a family dinner. You have to be there. I expect you to be there. This is how Christmas works for our family. You're part of our family. And different families dynamics have that, and different cultures have that. I've noticed also over the years.
Yeah.
But it's always wrong. I'm going to say always, and there could be some exceptions that we find out, but it's always wrong for the parent to expect the adult child to be where they want them to be when they want them to be there. It's not right. That
Yeah.
child has usually, not always, has children, has a life. They might not want to be there, and
Yeah.
so we've got to make that clear.
And then it's
Yeah.
uncomfortable. Like, why would you do that? So we made a habit because we had a lot of friends whose we saw their parents had a lot of expectations for them, but then they expected their children to follow what they did. Like, I met all my parents' expectations, so why aren't you meeting mine? So when our kids started driving and they would go, "Hey, Christmas afternoon, I'm going to my friend's house." And it was like, "Okay, I'm a little sad, but okay."
Right,
Or
right,
I'm going to do Thanksgiving with somebody else, or, we're taking a trip. We're going out of town
right.
for that weekend of the holiday, or, um, but when we started that really young, when they started driving, that was a really good time for us to think through, where are we letting go and allowing them to make their own choices. And I know a lot of people would say, well, you let them have too many choices, but, um,
So at
I don't agree.
16, you're not saying here's a choice between heroin and cocaine. You're
Right.
saying here's a choice between at 18 of deciding where you're an adult. You can
Yeah.
join the military, you can be put in prison, you can be a dad at 13, 14, 15, 16. And so those
Right.
seasons, I think parents are really unaware of seasons and how our parenting must change. It doesn't have to. A lot of people's parenting doesn't
Yeah.
change. But that change in how our expectations we have on our kids. Now, my daughter, we were going to wait till she turned 13 to get her a phone. She played volleyball. She had to be at school like at 5:30 in the morning. And so she wanted a phone, and I had her do a proposal. My daughter wrote up a proposal. I had returned it back twice. She had to redo it because she did it in pink. I'm like, that's not a proposal that I'm going to read. And then once she did the proposal, I'm like, okay, now I want you to do your requirements of what you have to do with your phone. And one of them has to be it can't be upstairs with you
Right.
when you go to bed. And so she abided by that for 3, 4 years, and never ever had an issue. It was
Yeah.
I had complete control over. She could not get an app on her phone without me. Um, and I let her know, hey, this is my expectation: is you have that phone for one reason. The primary reason is for me to get a hold of you.
Yes.
And so
And that's what, yeah.
so that's changed though now. That's changed. It's no longer the reason. Now when she's
Yeah.
16 to 18, it's like, so I know where you are.
Yeah.
Not that I follow her, but my wife and daughter follow each other all the time. My
Yes.
daughter, when she lived with us, always knew when we were 5 minutes from the house. It took me like a year to figure out how. But the thing is like now I don't have expectation on her except for as a human to call me back in a decent time,
Well, and I think
to
that's
not
where
ignore me.
the reevaluating the expectations, because we had a rule that you couldn't, for our oldest son, he couldn't get his driver's license until he finished a few things. And then when he was 15, he went to college and I had to take him every day.
Right,
And it was just
right.
like, so for
That's
2 months, I
funny.
had to take him. And I told Michael, he's getting his license. I know he didn't finish his Eagle Scout. He's almost done. He's
That's
really
right.
close.
Yeah.
But I would rather not have a car and have him take my car to school every day than have to haul all the other kids down or leave them home alone
Yeah,
because
that's
mom lived
funny.
with us at the time. But
Yeah.
so it's like we had to reevaluate. And that's where I think some of this expectations on your adult kids happens is when you don't reevaluate when they're younger and you get stuck in these little ruts and you start harming that relationship. And then some parents come down even harder on the next thing of their expectation. It's like,
Right,
you
right.
didn't do this right, so now I'm going to
Yeah,
make sure that this happens. But there's a movie called Four Christmases. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah, where the couple is supposed to go to, their parents are divorced, so there's four parents to see,
right.
and how unpleasant that is, and how stressful it is to think about. And I knew families like that, and then
Well,
they're
and
also hauling their kids around
if
to
they
all
had
these
listened,
places.
they should listen to this podcast. And then would say, "I'm not obligated to fulfill my parents' expectations of me," because they're not 20 somethings.
No, they're
They're
not.
like successful
40s.
30-year-olds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, last Thanksgiving, our daughter decided to stay in California over Thanksgiving, and it turned out great because my wife and I and our son and daughter-in-law went to New Orleans and ate, drank, and did culture stuff that would have bored my daughter. You know, we're
yeah,
going to go to this
yeah,
restaurant and eat this type of a Cajun food, and then this year we just are we're about on the verge of making the decision we're not bringing her home because of the cost of flights.
right.
And so that's the, but we talk about it. We're just not like you have to come home or you don't get to come home. It's a
Yeah,
both thing. So all right, let's see here. I think you said something about parents of adult children who in their minds have honored their parents and obeyed their parents and met all their expectations now think their kids should do that. And I think that's probably the case a lot. I
yeah,
did it, and it's actually for an adult child, a parent, to think that they fulfilled their parents' expectation is probably a bit of a prideful lie. It's a
yes,
narrative they tell themselves it's not true, and
yeah,
we don't in that relationship. It's no fun to be at a like in a meeting where you're obligated to be there, but you don't want to be there, or you want to be there for like part of it, but not the other part of
right,
it. With
right.
our children, we're like, look, we're gonna and I think that my Krisha deals more with she wants things on that day. But over the last 10 years, a lot of that's dropped because we started traveling over the holidays with our children and our daughter-in-law, and it's been great. And so that
Yeah.
day, you miss that day. We were actually in Australia over Thanksgiving, and we got wished happy Thanksgiving probably by 50 Australians. Were super generous about it. And they had turkey. They had a turkey dinner
Yeah.
as an option on the cruise. It was pretty funny though. But yeah, so I think that you just struggle. You struggle towards that. Most people aren't struggling towards like this is a different season. I can switch. I can reassess, like you said. What they're doing,
Yeah.
they're struggling to maintain control. And I think that's a big problem
Oh,
with
yeah.
parents struggling to maintain control, struggling to be the decider, the decision maker. Because as when you're a parent of an 8-year-old, you get to decide what they like and don't like. You get to decide
Yeah.
what they, at least what you feed them, and you can to act. They can so it's control. I think it's a lot of it's control issue, and that's a problem in parenting adult children. We have to relinquish control. That doesn't mean we don't have anything to teach them. That doesn't mean we don't have anything to impart to them. But it's a different season in that. In that.
Yeah, we've had friends who they had to relinquish control because their adult children married somebody overseas and moved overseas. And that is,
Oh yeah, that would really.
as a homeschool family, like we know a number of kids that live overseas, my older kids' age, and I know their parents are super happy for them that they're in a great relationship and have their kids and they're really enjoying this new culture, but they really miss them.
Absolutely,
And in that,
absolutely.
you have to, your language that you use with them, can't be about you. I read this morning somebody said, "My kid makes me so happy." And it was like, that's not their job.
It's
It's
not
not
their
their
job.
job. It's such a I don't know, it's like the mini me thing. This is my mini me. And it's like, no, they're not.
Yeah. Yeah. And they can look like you. We have
Yes.
a lady at the church, and you can just meet her daughter and immediately know they're related, that that's her mom or her
Yeah.
sister. The mom's pretty young looking, and it's just amazing. And but that's a struggle always, I think. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
So the idea, like during the World Cup, this guy wrote something about, can sports make you happy? And it's like, no, sports can't make you happy, but sports can make you happier. And I think
Yeah.
that's with kids. Kids can't make you happy.
Right.
They can make you happier, but you
Yeah.
are actually deciding. But when they're smaller, it's easier for them to make you happy because they're getting something from you constantly. So you're getting something from them.
Yeah.
And you know,
I
I
mean,
think
my
it's
kids make me happy because I enjoy them.
right,
It's different than implying that my happiness comes from
right.
their behavior or them
Yeah.
meeting my expectations.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's probably more like I'm happy to be around them, but it's not I don't gain my happiness from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting. Um this next one is, do not talk poorly about your other children. Um
This is the one I struggle with the most
you speak
because,
poorly about your other children?
well, my little kids, like, so I have 30-year-old, I have four
Oh,
30-year-olds. I have a middle group that are like
yeah.
19, 20,
Yeah.
27, and then the 10, 11, and 12-year-olds.
Right.
And um, three boys in that age group, it's really frustrating some days. I mean, they're great, and we obviously love them and have a lot of fun with them. But I do, but lucky for me, my older daughters who I hang out with a lot correct me and call me out on it.
Right. Well, I think it's different though, of do not speak poorly about your adult children is probably different than you're talking to your adult children about siblings that are, 20 years younger than them.
Yeah,
I think that is probably an exception. That's probably good that you don't, though. What we did, with Zeke asked us one time, he goes, "Why did everybody think I was such a good kid?" He goes, "I was like super strong willed." And I was like, "Yeah, we never complained about you, Zeke. We never complained about Zeke. He would make his mother cry. He could make his grandma cry, but we never complained about him. That was
yeah,
just he was just being a kid." And I think that's the thing. Also, is talking poorly about adult children to another adult child is probably a form of control or manipulation. And
what
that's
would that like? So I like you better than them because they're not nice to me.
no, no, no. I would just think like, oh, I'm worried about Bobby because I don't know, he just seems like he's always, serving his wife and she doesn't do anything for him. Even something like that, that's manipulative. That's putting doubt. Instead of going to Bobby or instead of going to the Lord about it, you're talking to the other children. Or if you're saying something like, I just wish that Larry would do blank. Well, tell Larry that that's what you want him to do. That would be talking poorly,
Okay.
I think. And I don't know how like I got these from comments and stuff like that. So but I'm not sure. I'm not sure how people do it. Oh, I'll tell you what. I had somebody uh, tell one daughter that the other daughter was a shitty daughter. It's like, yeah,
Based
that's like
on based on
based on the mom of the adult children was not getting her way. So that's like a problem. That becomes a problem. And but there's probably just a lot of different stuff, a lot of different subtle stuff. That's probably an extreme measure. Again, I think man, a lot of this goes back to Matthew. Clear communication, courageous
yeah,
communication, to talk to someone about that. Um, and don't say disapproving things like, I think a lot of like, well, I wish Bob wouldn't do this. I don't know if that's talking poorly, but it's not talking well about them. Or I can't believe that so and so does this. I think that's not a healthy thing. That's not, why are you telling that other child about that, about your opinion about your other child? I think that's a lot of it.
well, I would, my first thought would be, well, I'm concerned about them.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that's true.
And I
Or
want to share with
or
somebody.
or it's true, but you're sharing with the wrong person.
Yeah.
Another child, adult child, who most likely has issues with the child. So when we say I'm concerned, then we don't just talk to anybody. We would again we'd talk to the Lord about it. We would seek wise counsel about what should we do. There's a thing for us to do. I think talking about like I wish they wouldn't. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm a little extreme on that, and maybe it's a lot easier because I have only two kids and they're 17 years apart.
Well, I was thinking like we have siblings that we share, and
You can have them all.
I just think with, one in particular who was mentally ill, and it was very helpful for me to talk to you about him so that when he would call, I would have better things to say. I
Right, but
wouldn't.
you weren't talking poorly about him. You were asking for ways to love him.
Yeah.
That's very
Yeah, and
different
same with
than
dad when you had said, um, "Hey, I'm going to start hugging dad." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, me too." So we talked about that, and
yeah.
that whole campaign was, you could say, was behind his back, but I think it made such a huge impact on his life, and I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's like the gossip, like, "Oh, did you see Sally? She had this really beautiful blue dress," and the other person's like, "Yeah, I think she got it at Talbot's on sale." And it's like, that is so cool. I'm gonna go look at Talbot's versus, "Did you see Sally with that blue dress on?
that's right.
She was too fat to be wearing that dress, and I bet
Yeah.
she paid too much for it." There's
Hmm.
a conversation to be had that can build somebody up, and there's another one that tears them down.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan. I was we when I did when I pastored for about 15 years, we had like four elders, and we learned quickly that we had to learn how to appropriately talk about other people because we
Yeah.
had a rule: don't talk about other people. Then it's like that like really hurt us in like 3 months. We had to like, hey, with this, so we'd go around, the five of us would go around the room, and very often it was like it would start illuminating. We each had a separate story about that person that alone I was just thinking it was me. But then it's
Right.
like, oh, this person is a problem. This leader that we put in place is a problem. We didn't know this. And so it helped
Yeah.
a lot to learn how to speak appropriately and lovingly, and not just lovingly towards that person, but lovingly towards our congregation. So there's a great scripture, Psalms 50:19 to 20. It says, you give your mouth free rein for evil, and your tongue frames deceit. You sit and speak against your brother. You slander your own mother's son. I like how it says you slander your own mother's son, because that would be your brother. But based
Yeah.
on this word for this Hebrew word for evil, um, I think we can easily insert here, you give your mouth free rein for mischief or harm. Because when we hear evil, we often think, well, that's not me. But when
Yeah.
we hear mischief and harm, but also you could keep going, you speak and text against your brother in Christ, you slander your own spouse's son, or you slander you slander your,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's important to like, and I think a lot of this will, all of this talking from the very beginning about family estrangement, now about communication, a lot of it comes to godly communication as if you were talking to someone at church or at work.
Yeah.
It's like it's not like it's super different, except that we're the parent and we have this like almost they're obligated to us. We need to be in control. We're entitled to their obedience or to their agreement with us, and that we're entitled to them. We're entitled to our expectation over our children.
That
So
was that became really clear to me when we adopted the first time. Our son Luke was 10, and I would hear people say to him all the time, "You are so lucky to have been adopted by this family." And it was just constant. "Man,
right,
you really owe them." And it was, at first I didn't know what to say. And then one day we sat down with him and said, "You know what? I want you to know, you don't owe us anything.
right, right,
We chose to adopt you. You didn't have a
right.
choice. You don't have a
Yeah,
choice whether you came to our home or not.
yeah,
We chose this for you on your behalf, and we love you, but we want you to very clearly know you do not owe us anything. That's not
Yeah,
what this was ever about. We want it to
that's
help
good.
you. And then you realize that with your other kids that, oh, they don't owe me anything. I am literally the one who chose them to have them. I'm the one who chose how to raise them, where we
Hmm.
went, what we did. They didn't have any choice until they could drive, pretty much. This is the church we go to. This is, whatever.
Right, right.
Those choices all get made by the parent, and then you're done making choices for them.
Well,
But
I think
it goes way back to like 3 years old. Let them pick their clothes out. Start really small, letting go and allowing your kids to have choices and accepting their choices. And that goes a long way to getting to the adulthood part where you're accepting their choices.
Well, I think that again, that goes with seasons. Like
Yeah,
when does a kid start? I mean, a 1 year old's not going to do a chore, but a
right.
3, 4, 5 year old will. And then
Definitely. Yeah.
what other chore? Then you don't need to give a 2 year old an allowance, but you give an allowance, and then you have an expectation, and then you grow them. They have our son started doing his laundry like at 12 or 13. Our daughter at like 7 or 8 wanted like a certain pair of pants. It's like, well, then here's how to do the laundry.
Yep. Yep.
I'm not going to do it. I did it on Fridays a lot of times, a lot of seasons in our daughter's life. And then I didn't do my son's laundry at all until he went to college. Then I started doing it every time he came back home. I would
Well,
spend
we
that
did it
time.
at our oldest was 8, and he complained I didn't ever have what he wanted ready to wear.
Then he
So we stopped
started.
at Walmart on
Yeah.
the way home and got him his own laundry basket. He was so thrilled.
Yeah.
He
And I
needed
think that's
he
what
needed a
we're,
chair to do his laundry, but then when he was 16 and started going to college and working, then I was like, this is hilarious. I'm now doing his laundry.
yeah, I think that's right though. I think it's like it's all about releasing our children, right? I
Yes.
actually wrote a phrase of I don't know if it was in a text to you, but a lot of us think we're training our children, but we're just fencing them in. And I think there's a huge difference about that, because in private school we would talk about how, you have a seedling and you want to like protect it so nobody walks on it or digs it up. Then once a little sprout, you want to put a cover on it so it doesn't get too hot or too cold. Then you want to
Yes.
dig a moat around it, so blah blah blah. But eventually you got to leave it alone. Got
Yes.
to leave it alone. And I think parents are really bad about. I don't want my kid to have any bad experiences. I don't want them to get hurt. So I will then learn how to manipulate them, and I will actually then fence them in so tightly that they're not strong, they're not courageous, they don't know how to make their own decisions, and then we get that that proverbial, I don't know if it's proverbial, but it's that 30-year-old living in the basement playing video games, but he has enough money to Uber Eats for that $20 burrito they've been talking about
Yeah.
on the news. But all right, so this last one, um, do not buy your child something and expect them to like it. Now, I know you're not a gift giver because it's not your love language, but have you ever bought your child a piece of clothing and expected them to love it and wear it?
No.
No.
I too, when I don't like shopping either, so they have to go with me. They literally have to pick it out because I don't care. And no, but my mother cares a lot. And this week she brought me some potted plants that a neighbor had that
Uh-huh.
didn't want them anymore. And she noticed yesterday, I've had them for a few days, that I wasn't watering them.
Mm-hmm.
So she called me this morning to ask if I wanted them. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, no, I didn't want them. Like, you didn't ask me if I wanted them. You just brought them. This happens a lot, more so now that she's, got some dementia. And
That's funny.
I usually take them and pass them on to somebody else, but it's been 3 days. I haven't had time to deal with them. We've been super busy. And
That's funny. Yeah.
but she's done this my whole life, bringing me things that she thinks I would want. And when
Or you
she
should
found
or you
out,
should want.
yeah, when she found out, I just threw them away. She became a little more careful, and then she started asking me if I wanted them. But it's really super fascinating to have,
Back
like, she doesn't have a filter
back
for that.
pre email and texting, she would bring me a bag of magazines And I finally just told her, I'm like, what do you want me to read out of this? So then she started clipping it or circling it, and that was very helpful. And then, and I enjoyed it. I like that. I like getting that.
Yeah.
But then she'll still buy me some books, and I take them all. I take all the books.
Yeah.
It's not very many. But the funny thing is, I would give stuff to Zeke early on. He would just like, thanks, me, ma. So I stopped.
I think I'm really intentional with my kids because of that. And they've seen that. They've witnessed that, their whole life. All of them, all 10 of them have seen that. But I love Amazon. Like, just tell me what you want. Tell me what your kid wants. Give me a list of
Well,
things
I
so you
think
can
it
have what
comes.
you want.
I think it comes back to our adult children should like what we like, and they should like whatever we want to give them, and that's really bad. That's really wrong. So, giving a cruise to a family sounds like a great gift, but if your kids hate cruises, it's a
Yeah.
bad gift. It's an
Yeah.
obligation. It's work. It's a chore. And when you pick out a piece of furniture for your adult child's house for them, you're not operating out of a heart of love. This sounds really
Yeah.
horrible. You're actually operating out of a heart of selfishness, at the very least, out of really unawareness, that you're not even
Yeah.
aware of the control that you're putting out there over them. Now, it is a blessing to be able to give your kids finances or any gift at any age, but you actually ruin the blessing. And it's not a blessing when you
Right.
don't ask that kid what they want. So, I got this really great scripture here. I was looking for another scripture that talks about it's the whole Christian love that we're to give to those who can't give back to us.
Right.
That's our children, but then what happens? They become 18 or they become 25, and we then expect them to give back to us.
Right. Oh my gosh.
That's
Yeah.
not that's not Christian love. That's not agape love. So that's why I've always bothered by Christmas gifts, because I'm giving to someone who's giving back to me. So
Yeah.
every year I do give my kids gifts, my wife a gift, but hardly anybody else. I don't like gift exchange at all, but I try to give to someone that they have no means to give back to me. And so I think what
Yeah.
happens is, but I was looking for that scripture, but I ran across Luke 6:35. It says, love your enemies, do good to them, and lend to them expecting nothing in return. Then your reward will be great, and you will be children of the Most High God. Lend to them, give to your children like you did when they were 3, like you did when they were 8, like you did when they were 13. Give to them, take them to soccer or to get their haircut, give to them, but don't expect anything in return. But
Yeah.
give to them based on, hey, what do you want?
Right.
Now, our son, birthday, a movie, a meal, we convince him we're going to buy him now we get him a really great pair of shoes or something, like 100, 150, and we get him like a good something. But it's not like, oh my God, this is amazing. Our daughter, she wants the movie, the meal,
The
the
party.
gift, 50 or 60 people from her school, and then a family party
Yeah.
of which means 40 people. And so we manage that and we celebrate with that. So she is our party person. And my wife is too, more so, but not parties for herself, just the whole getting ready and being creative
Yeah.
for the party.
Yeah.
But I think that thing is that's a great scripture, Luke 6:35, for like, don't expect things in return. So what are some good guidelines for parents who can give financially to their children? What are some good guidelines
Well,
for them, not for their children?
I think the most important thing if you're giving something to your kids is to not have any expectations or strings attached. There's a lot of people that we've seen over time that will give their kids a substantial gift and then be disappointed in their kids because they didn't use it the way they wanted them to or do it how they wanted them to do it. Then it's kind of the gift is gets yucky or you're giving too much. We've seen that a lot. Giving too much of what they don't need and ask for. But Michael's parents were super poor, like raised during the depression, and they gave money for all the gifts because
Hmm.
they thought their kids knew what their family needed best. Like
Yeah.
your kid maybe needs a new pair of shoes, maybe they need glasses. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Pre Amazon that and then they would send us like $1,000 at Christmas time, which was great. And we tried to use that to go see them because they're wonderful. And it's far away. It took every bit of that to go see them. And they didn't expect that. And they were always so grateful that we came to see them. So it's a lot of it isn't about the gift that you're getting them or giving them. It's about your attitude behind that gift.
Yeah. I would say the number one thing is just simply ask your kids what they
Yeah.
want.
Yes. Yes.
And I've never been a fan of giving money, but then with nieces and nephews, that's what I give all the time. With Krisha has the three younger nephews right now, well, except for your three guys. But always give at a certain after like 13, I just give money. My in-laws gave money. My mother-in-law for the 30 something years I knew her gave me 100 to 150 to $200 every birthday. She's the only person in my life who for 3.5 decades gave me a birthday card. If I was in Scotland, she would give Krisha a card for me that I would open on my birthday, or in Colorado.
My
My
God.
mom and my wife have never done that.
That's so cute.
It is so cute. And her mother, I just ran across a card from Krisha's grandmother, Mildred's mother, with $2 in it because she would send $2 to every one of her grandchildren, and she tried really hard to get the grandchildren's spouses in
Yeah.
it. So I got cards. It was, of course, addressed to Les Herod, Herod, and not Heron. But it was just super. Yeah, yeah, that money's a
Yeah.
good idea. Now I do believe, like, if you're giving a substantial gift, the string should be attached. And this, I like the Dave Ramsey thing that if you're going to give a kid it's like $10,000, and you can tell them, I'm going to give you this $10,000, and I want you to pay it on down on your car,
Right.
and I want you to commit to not get another car for 18 months. So because then you're training them. I want to give you a blessing, but that blessing isn't for you to get more into debt.
Right.
You're having a conversation, and he does things like if you give him like 30, 40, 50, you say, I want you to put this down on your house, committing to stay in that house and paying it off, not now go get a 50 or $60,000 better house. So I
Right.
think those are really good conversations to have. Or I'm going to give you, I've done this. I had a friend, him and his wife were in New York in Times Square for a couple of days. I sent her $200 to shop with, for her to shop with.
Yeah.
I should call her my Finnish sister. She's like, that's for her to shop with, not to eat out with, but for her to buy something with. And I do that. I do that with Victoria when she's out with her friends. I'm like, here's this is for this. This is to go to Starbucks when you're out there. But nowadays that doesn't mean as much because they're going to go to Dutch Bros whenever they want.
Yeah.
So, but I think the strings attached is but you got to be clear. You can't the silent expectation is a killer.
Yes.
The silent expectation is a killer. And
Well, I think for all of these things we've talked about, the clear communication is the solution to so many of these things.
yes, and there's actually, I don't know if there's a book by this, but we taught Victoria courageous communication, and she's actually learning that at college now. And I asked her this summer, like, what's one thing she realized about herself? She's like, I'm really good at clear, courageous communication, and because she told us some of the stories, and her roommates are all like they want Victoria to lead if there's conflict, they want her because she will like
Yeah.
stop. This is
Yeah.
what you just said, and it's not true. She gets in this weird, 'cause she's really sweet, but then she gets in this like, sort of
Right.
mode. But yeah, I think clear communication and seasonally changing how we parent. I can see now, like so we're in our 60s, and our vacations the last 5 years are led by our son.
Yeah.
But our son's really good at saying, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to upgrade? Do you want to do this or that? We're going to do this. Do you want to go with us? And I'll go, I want to go with you. but I don't want to have like I don't want to. I'd rather spend $200 more on this flight overseas than to have a flight that's like killing me and it's
Yeah.
28 hours, of transfer and stuff like that. So he's been really, really good at that. So, and I appreciate that. All right, do you want to conclude anything?
Well, I one of the things if some for whoever's watching and you're thinking like it's too late, I've messed up, then I don't think it's too late. And you have to get past the fear of like making it worse because it might get a little worse before it gets better, but not being afraid to say I've messed up. I didn't know how to do this right, but I would like a chance to do this right.
Yeah.
It's never too late because I do get to hear a lot of stories, especially since we've been doing this. I get people messaging me, I'm gonna cry. And I know they feel afraid, like it's too late. It won't solve anything if they talk about it, but they're still wounded. And I just want to tell people it's not too late.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like as Christians, we believe in restoration, right?
Yeah,
Like, and it starts with us. It doesn't start with us doing or saying something. It starts with us in our heart, and it doesn't
yeah,
just start with like I messed up. And I think this is a real good spot. A couple times in my life, I've gone and got 4 to 6 counseling sessions specific about this with an expert in family, whatever about
yep,
this I'm not a huge fan of pastoral care, but at my age, I'm more go to pastoral care. I have this guy that I talk to on Zoom, and like usually just one for one thing. It's just like it helps me a lot. It gives me it shows me what I can't see, and then I leave with a thing to do. I think it's just really important, yeah, that we are a lot more powerful than we
yeah,
think we are, and we have the ability to change. And more, even if we think we've ruined it, I've seen over and over and over again, kids want to be around their parents. They
yeah,
do. Not all of them can be. Not all of them should be. Not all. It's hard, but the majority of people listening aren't the tragic, horrible things where the kids were horrible, the parents were horrible, or most of it's just like, oh man, I did the same thing for 30 years. I've blown it, but you did blow it. But
yeah,
keep going. Do
yeah,
something. It's
yeah.
on our part to
Well, I think the modern theory of when your kid or your somebody goes no contact is just to leave them alone. And there's this great children's book called The Runaway Bunny.
uh-huh.
And the kid's going to run off and do this, and the mom's like, "Well, then I'll change
Yeah.
and I'll come after you.
Yeah.
I'll okay. Well, if you want to do that, I'll change and I'll meet you where you are." And I think that as a Christian, we can grow and change and meet our kid where they are and not give up hope and say, "Oh, there's nothing I can do
I think
because they don't
so.
want to talk to me."
And I don't know if this applies, but the prodigal son story is like we like to think we're in the father's position, that we're super godly. But usually as parents, a lot of times we're in the older son position. I've done everything
Yes.
right. I've done
Yes.
everything right, and they left, and I didn't get blessed. I didn't get what was mine. I didn't get, and I think that's probably a problem of our mindset. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So if this conversation has helped you, share, like, comment where anywhere you watch us or listen to us on this podcast or read or listen to on Substack. So I'm going to leave you with three questions. Where have I not been clearly communicating to my adult child? What expectations have I put on them to like what I like and to do what I want them to do? And then the last one, what is one thing this week that I can change my mind about when it comes to my thoughts about my adult child and my relationship with them? Because that changing your mind is always the first step. So like
Yeah.
Sue said, if you're there and said there's no hope, that means you lack faith in that area, because there's no hopelessness in the kingdom of heaven, in the kingdom of God here on earth within us. And so there is hope. Change that thought, change the thought about your child, change the thought about how you parented, change those thoughts, and it'll go
Yep.
a long way to changing your conversation with your child. All right. God bless y'all. Goodbye.
Bye.